Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name's Kaylee and these are my books. So today's video is the start of a new themed reading vlog where I am going to be exploring the slasher genre. I really enjoy slasher books. I know a lot of people can say that they're boring. I don't find them boring at all. And honestly, I can't even understand how some people think they're boring. Slashers is one of my favorite subgenres in horror. Slashers and haunted house stories are like my two favorites. And I love slashers. I've read Final Girl by Riley Sager. I've read The Final Girl Support Group by Grady Hendrix. I have read Clown in a Cornfield by Adam Cesare. I mean, I'm sure I've read a couple others, but those books stand out in my mind as like some of my favorite books, especially Grady Hendrix, The Final Girl Support Group. Oh, and I've read Cirque Berserk and absolutely loved it. That's like a slasher novella on KU. But yeah, I just want to read more slashers because while I consider it one of my favorite subgenres in horror, I don't think I'm necessarily well read in that subgenre. It's just all of the slasher books that I have read, I have enjoyed. And therefore, I do consider it a favorite. But it's one that there's a lot more books that I need to read in it. So for this video, I will be reading Clown in a Cornfield 2 because I loved the first one. I'm so excited for the sequel. This is a YA horror slasher. I'm gonna tell you more about the synopsis as I start reading it, but of course, Clown in a Cornfield, kind of explanatory, you know? There's some clowns in a cornfield. What more do you need to know? I will also be reading My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I've read The Night of the Mannequins by Stephen Graham Jones and The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, and I loved both of those. Night of the Mannequins I gave 5 stars to, Only Good Indians I gave 4 stars to, so I'm very excited to read this other one by Stephen Graham Jones, especially because this is a slasher and the other two I've read from him I don't think are slashers. At least they don't qualify as slashers in the traditional sense. I could see an argument being made for either of them though, to be honest. And also, I just really love the cover for this book. I've owned it for a while and it's always so pretty on my shelf, so I'm excited to finally read this book and hopefully turn this pretty cover into a new favorite. And the last book I will be reading for this video is Camp Slaughter. This is a Kindle Unlimited horror, which I'm always excited to find new horror books to read on Kindle Unlimited. And Camp Slaughter is kind of got mixed reviews from my friends. Some of my friends love it, some of my friends hate it. I was going to read this for Summerween, but then I was seeing the mixed reviews and I wanted to put it off. But now's the time. You know, I've been wanting to read this book for a while. I've been known to love books that a lot of my friends hate, so I'm hoping this is one of those cases because I really want to love Camp Slaughter. Without further ado, I'm gonna cut to the clips of me actually reading these books. Hello, so I am 35% of the way through Clown in a Cornfield 2, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So I've heard, sorry, Teddy is like rolling all over the couch. Don't mind all his toys in the background, but he's an upside down boy right now. He's a good boy. He's a good boy. He's so bitey. Good boy, good boy. Anyways, I'm 35% of the way through and I'm loving it. I'm loving it so much. And I've heard a lot of people talk about how it starts really slow. And I thought that about the first book too. So I definitely thought the first book took like 100 pages to get going. But I don't know, with slashers, I mean, we'll see if this holds true for this book, but with slashers, when it's just nonstop action, I actually appreciate a slow start because I really need to get to know the characters and have a strong setup where I can distinguish between characters before all the crazy murder action happens, you know? And so this book, in the first 35%, there's been a little amount of action, but not much. It's mostly just like characters dealing with their trauma from the first book, which, side note, I'm loving the discussion about the impacts of true crime on the victims. I think this book is doing a really good job with that topic because it's a really complicated topic, of course. And because it seems to pick up so immediately from the first book, I do wish I had read the first book more recently. I don't think you have to have read the first book recently. I mean, I'm understanding everything fine. And honestly, the first book's details are very murky. So it's not like you have to reread it, but I think I would have a better appreciation of what's going on in this beginning if I had reread it. With that said though, I'm really enjoying it. So again, people say it's slow. It is slow in the setup, but I'm enjoying the slowness. I'm living in the slowness. I'm liking all the different character point of views because that's something in this book. There's a ton of different character point of views. Some people in college, some people in high school, some people just working in the town. And I'm enjoying everyone. There's not one point of view. None of the point of views really stand out to me. So it's not like they're super unique in that. I guess that could be a criticism where, you know, they're all kind of interchangeable even though they're in these different settings. However, that also means that I'm never like mad at one of the point of views. Like they're all equally interesting to me. So we'll see how the end goes, but the first 35%, I'm in, I'm hooked, I'm having a good time. Hello, I'm checking in because I finished Clown in a Cornfield 2 and I'm giving it 3.5 stars. I'm rounding it up to 4 on Goodreads, so it's kind of funny because on Goodreads it looks like I gave 1 and 2, the first one and the second one, both 4 stars, but really the first one was 4.5 rounded down and the second one is 3.5 rounded up, so just some inside information because I don't think I've made that clear on my Goodreads. Clown in a Cornfield 2. I did really enjoy it. So 3.5 still means I had a really fun time with it. I'm so glad I read it in October. I think this is a very fun, spooky YA slasher to read in October. The reasons why it got a lower score than the first one, I feel like there wasn't as much slasher content in the second one as there was in the first one. So I just wanted more slasher content. We still got some, don't get me wrong, there was still slasher content. It's just the first one, I feel like we got like 200 solid pages of just pure slasher chaos. And in this one, it was a bit more sporadic throughout. And then my other criticism is that I really didn't care about any of the characters. Like, I feel like they were all interchangeable. We switched point of views a couple of different times, and I think I even said at the beginning, you know, I'm not really sure, like, each point of view kind of feels the same. They are distinguishable through where they are in the plot, so they're not all together. They're at different moments in the plot, different locations in the setting. But in terms of personality and voice, they really just all blend together. I feel like every character had no distinguishable features in their own personality, if that makes sense. Overall, a fun time, but would I reread it? No. And will I be thinking about it for a while? No, but I would still recommend it just as a fun YA slasher to pick up. I do think book 1 is better though. So the next slasher I'm going to give a try is adult, so maybe it's gonna be more gruesome, we'll see. But I actually, you know, it's in this video, so I think it's a slasher. I've been told that it has slasher content, but I think it's more than just like a simple slasher. So the book I'm talking about is My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones. I started it this morning. I started the audiobook. I'm like barely into it, so I can't even really tell you what it's about yet. But I think this book is a slasher and more. And I don't really understand what the and more part means either when I say slasher and more. That's just how I've heard people speak about this book. It's classified as a slasher, but a lot of people say that there's just more going on in it. And I've heard some people get disappointed going in thinking it's just a simple slasher and they don't get what they want. But I love Stephen Graham Jones. I loved The Only Good Indians. I love Night of the Mannequin. So I have crazy high hopes for My Heart is a Chainsaw. I'm hoping I love it. I'll check in once I'm a bit further in to be able to tell you the synopsis, because like I said, right now, I don't really know what's going on, but it's good. Good vibes so far. Hello, I'm checking in because I'm about halfway through My Heart is a Chainsaw, so I thought it would be a good moment to check in because last time I think I just mentioned I was reading it, but I had no idea what it was about because I was only like 20 pages in. Oh, Teddy is playing with a toy. Also, I have like a weird light on my head. That is sun. That is not like a weird scar. Would be kind of a cool one though. But anyways, halfway through My Heart is a Chainsaw and I'm really enjoying it, but I also have no idea what the hell is going on, but in the best way possible. Like, I'm supposed to be feeling that right now. And Stephen Graham Jones just has such a great way with getting us so deep inside these unreliable narrators' heads where like we're reading everything from her point of view, Jade, the main character, but like she is not a reliable person to be reading from. So basically the premise of this story is we follow Jade, a high school senior who is kind of like an outcast at her high school because she has a lot of weird quirks that kind of sets her apart from everyone else. Particularly the fact that she is obsessed with horror movies, like to the point where it overwhelms any conversation she has. She's able to bring anything back around to horror movies, particularly slasher movies, and it's difficult to talk to her because she is so obsessed with slashers. But Jade is beginning to see in her small town signs that a slasher movie is happening in real life. And so she's trying to warn people, she's trying to save people. She thinks she knows who the final girl is. And she's basically just saying, guys, like a slasher is going to happen. Like there has been some murders up into the point that I've read, but nothing like huge has happened. And she's basically worried something huge, like the grand finale, the climax of slasher movies is going to happen. But she's having a hard time getting people to believe her due to her personality. And we're seeing signs that her personality is largely a factor of some trauma that she may or may not have had as a child. And I'm just loving it. This book, there's so many layers to unwrap in this book. You can't take any sentence at face value. And there is action, but also like this is such a book that is so focused on the psychological aspect of this character. I'm having a fantastic time, and I see now what people mean when they say it's a slasher and more, because it is a slasher, but it's also like quite psychological, not so much focused on, just like slashing. Thoughts so far, I'm loving it, and I have no idea what's happening. Hi, I'm checking in front of my other bookshelves this time because I just finished My Heart is a Chainsaw by Stephen Graham Jones, and holy crap, it was so good. So I've decided to give it 4 stars. It's a high 4-star though. I was debating possibly a 5-star, but ultimately I think there was just a smidge too much confusion for me in this story, and that could be a personal problem. Like maybe you as the reader could not feel confused. I felt a little bit too confused at times for me to give it a full 5 stars, but rest assured, this is a high 4-star. I really, really enjoyed this story. It was so chaotic in the best way possible. I mean, I had no idea if this was like even a slasher at moments. Like, is this all in someone's head? Is this a real slasher? Is this supernatural? Is this physical? Like, I had no freaking clue what was going on up until the end. And the ending is like leaves a lot open, not of the actual story, but of our character Jade. And I am so happy to see that there is a sequel to this book. I cannot wait for the sequel. I'm not going to tell you anything about the sequel because it's going to like obviously spoil this story, but I'm just so excited to continue on with Jade's story in book 2 because Jade is one of the most interesting characters I've ever read about. She is so weird but so lovable. I love her. She's so compelling. This book was a win. I'm so happy I read this book. I love Stephen Graham Jones writing. Like, it's not for everyone, and it's definitely highly stylized. So if you don't enjoy that style, you're probably not gonna like his books, but I just find the style so interesting, and it's so psychological while pairing these physical elements. It's just, I love it. I love it so much. Okay, I think I'm gonna start Camp Slaughter next, so I'll check in when I've read a little bit more in that book. Hello, I wanted to update because I started Camp Slaughter and I'm about 30% of the way through. And oh my god, it is so much fun. It is so intense. It is so good. It's very campy. So like, it's ridiculous, it's cheesy, but it's everything I want. Oh my gosh, ew, Teddy. Like, it starts right away with people getting killed with a chainsaw. So that kind of tells you the gore level that we're at. Basically the premise, it's a simple premise. Some teenagers want to go camping in the woods, and so they get this cabin that's the most secluded cabin ever. And there is a man who lives in the woods who is also a cannibal, and he likes to kill people and eat them and wear their skin. It's a ridiculous serial killer, but it's so much fun to read about. And we're getting a lot of moments with these teenagers that are going camping in the woods. So I could see, because this book does have a lot of mixed reviews, and I could see where they happen, because if you don't care about the teenagers, like sometimes their sections could feel like a lot. But I love teen drama in horror movies. I feel like teen drama in horror movies is like the perfect duo, you know? And so this teen drama paired with this ridiculous killer, it's like so cheesy in the best way. I am so entertained the entire way through. So I'm excited to keep reading because this is the most fun ever, and it's reading so quickly that I think I'm going to be able to finish it just in one sitting. Figured I'd give you an update with the fancier setup for the outro. I don't always do this, but you know, I'm giving you a gift, okay? Hello. It's not just me on my couch, it is me with my books. But I finished Camp Slaughter and I loved it. I gave it 4 stars because I wanted a little bit more from the ending. I just feel like it ended a little bit abruptly, and I know there is a sequel, but I wanted some more satisfying moments. I'm being so vague because I don't want to spoil anything, but you know, the climax could have been bigger is I guess what I'm saying. I really loved it though. It kind of sent me into this big spiral on sprints where I mentioned that if the opportunity arose, I would eat somebody. Listen, you gotta live life to its fullest. You gotta experience all there is to experience. And I'm just saying, if the opportunity arose where I was in a situation, consent is there, we have to do this, possibly to survive, I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Of course I'm doing it. You're lying if you say you wouldn't do it. I'm bringing this up because cannibalism is a big part of Camp Slaughter. I'm not just trying to insert my cannibalism thoughts in this video, but come on. Of course, I do not condone the cannibalism that happens in Camp Slaughter because it is not a survival situation. There is not consent involved. So of course that cannibalism is a no, but just wanted to bring up my thoughts. Let me know down in the comments, would you eat somebody? Oh God. But let's bring it back to the book. Let's bring it back to Camp Slaughter. So Camp Slaughter I found so fun to read. It was quite short and I found it very entertaining. Could I distinguish between the cast of characters? No. Did I need to distinguish between the cast of characters to still enjoy this book? Also, no. The bad guy in this story was so evil and so scary to read about, but he was so fun and we got some point of views from his point of view. And those point of views were like the best point of views in the book. And I just overall had a great time with this book. I thought it was a wild ride and I just wanted the ending to be a little bit more wild than it was. I am incredibly excited to pick up the sequel, so I'm excited about the sequel for My Heart is a Chainsaw and the sequel to Camp Slaughter. My Heart is a Chainsaw doesn't have a sequel out yet, but Camp Slaughter I think does. So that brings me to the end of the video. I've read all the books for this vlog. I've read Clown in a Cornfield 2, My Heart is a Chainsaw, which I have right here, and Camp Slaughter. My favorite book out of all 3 of these I think is Camp Slaughter, but I ended up giving Camp Slaughter and My Heart is a Chainsaw both 4 stars. I just think I had a little tiny bit more fun with Camp Slaughter, but I still really loved this book too. This book being My Heart is a Chainsaw. And then I gave 3.5 stars to Clown in a Cornfield 2. So overall a very successful vlog. It's just Clown in a Cornfield 2 was a little bit disappointing because I didn't like it nearly as much as the first one. But a 3.5 and 2 4 stars, I'll call it a win at the end of the day. So I would recommend all 3 of these books. Of course, don't read Clown in a Cornfield 2 without having read Clown in a Cornfield 1. If you want something YA that doesn't go as crazy as some other slashers out there, Clown in a Cornfield 2 is definitely the book for you. If you want something just like crazy, wild, fun time, but not many thoughts going on in the book, definitely Camp Slaughter. But if you want a slasher that goes crazy but is also kind of confusing in a deep way with some psychological investigation into characters' mind, then My Heart is a Chainsaw is the book for you. Let me know down in the comments if you like slashers, and if you do, give me some recommendations. I need to read more slasher books. I would definitely recommend all 3 in this video, along with Cirque Berserk, the first Clown in a Cornfield, the Final Girls support group, and Final Girls. If you enjoyed this video, please give me a like and subscribe for more content, and I'll see you next time. Bye!